Welcome into episode number 119 of The Voice Behind the Voice. I'm Sean Aronson, the TV and radio broadcaster for the St. Paul Saints, an independent minor league baseball team in the Twin Cities. Well, normal day of recording this, so we're a little more than a month into the season now. 35 games to be exact, 20-15 on the year, first place by a game, and this season is going to give me gray hairs and a heart attack. That's where we're at right now. Seriously, I am not going to survive this season. I may not survive another season after this. I want to win a championship so bad. I've talked about this before on the podcast, and people have said, you go about it the wrong way. You shouldn't be emotional. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. I'm an emotional guy when it comes to this sort of stuff, right? We just finished a 4-game series against our division rivals and lost the first three games. We got blown out in game 1. It wasn't close. Whatever. That happens. You're okay. We lost the next 2 games after leading going into the 7th inning on both nights and giving up the lead both nights and losing by the identical score of 9-8. It was painful, absolutely painful to lose both those games in the manner that we did. And seriously, if there was a camera on me in the press box, I think at times it would be more entertaining than what's going on the field. I'm throwing things. In between innings, I'm cursing. It is not a pretty sight, okay? But this is who I am. I care that much. I want to win a championship that much when it does happen. And I would assume it's going to happen sometime in my lifetime, as long as they keep employing me around here, that a championship will be won. It will be that much sweeter. But we've talked about all this before. You know, when the Dodgers lost the World Series in Game 7, I came to work the next day and I didn't talk to anybody. This is who I am as a sports fan. This is who I am as a broadcaster. Don't at me about it. This is just the type of person I am. That's all. I just want to get that off my chest. I need a way to vent, right? For those of you out here that listen to this podcast and are broadcasters, I'm curious to hear from you what you do in between innings or periods or at halftime or whatever of games that matter. I'm not talking game 1 or game 4, and I get it. This is game 30 whatever of 100 games, and there's still a long way to go. But I'm curious, how do you get rid of the pent-up energy that you have? What do you do? What are your nervous tics? Do you curse? Do you throw things? Do you tap a pencil? Do you tap your foot? What do you do? Feel free. Send me a message on Twitter. Let everybody know. You know by now how to do so at TheVoiceBTV. All right, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox now. With that, let's get to episode number 119. A man who I'm not sure needs to get emotionally invested because he works for a national TV station out in Canada, Gord Miller of TSN. He and I sat down back in April. This was 2 months ago now. He was in town to do a Minnesota Wild first-round playoff game. He was kind enough to sit down with me at the XL Energy Center, literally right inside the front gates where people were, if they were to walk and get wanded, and right when you walk in, we found a table right there, and we sat right there sometime in the afternoon, about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But again, 2 months ago, so you're going to hear him allude to the fact that it's round 1 of the playoffs right now. Spoiler alert, the Washington Capitals won the Stanley Cup Finals, just in case you did not know that. But it was great because here in Minnesota, we got 1.5 feet of snow in April. This actually happened, and he had to fly into the fact that there was 1.5 feet of snow here. So that's how we start off of his travels. I think he was coming from Tampa, if I remember correctly, to get to Minnesota, and he tells about his travels. We also talk about a couple other things in terms of when he was a national guy doing studio work, what it's like to cover a trade deadline, and then what it was like to cover Wayne Gretzky's retirement. 2 incredibly fascinating stories. He's got a bunch of other great stories as well, but such a nice guy, really a super nice guy, and let me in on a lot of different things that go on with him, not just as a play-by-play broadcaster, but also working inside the studio. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, and let me say this real quick before I tell you how to subscribe, there is a week left in the month of June. Was there 30 days in June, I think? 30 days? I think 30. Yeah, 30 sounds good. 5 days left at this point when I'm recording this. We have already set a record for most people listening to the podcast in a month. It surpassed April's high, and we've surpassed it by over 20% with still 5 days to go. On top of that, the most listened to day ever happened this month, about 2 weeks ago now. And that was the most listened to day by about 25% over the best listened to day back in 2016. It was the first month that I started this podcast. So again, thank you to everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for passing this on to whoever you do. Thank you for sharing it with your friends. It is greatly appreciated that the fact that this little podcast continues to grow month by month. But if you have not subscribed, or you want to tell a friend how to subscribe, tell them to go to iTunes or wherever they get a podcast and search The Voice Behind the Voice, the easiest way. You can follow us on social media at The Voice BTV on Twitter, Facebook, facebook.com/TheVoiceBTV, and you can always email me, thevoicebtv@gmail.com. All right, let's get to it. Episode number 119. Gord Miller of TSN. JW, roll the open.
So what happened was a member of city council had gone to college with my dad, and he was looking for teenagers to be part of this anti-curfew movement. So they rounded me up, and I wound up speaking to city council for the rights of teenagers to oppose this draconian curfew, and I wound up on the front page of the paper for the first time. So yeah, it was. Politics has always interested me, and I think that I have great respect for people in public service.
Sure.
I think that, whether no matter what party you're in or what your philosophy is, I think you have to respect people that give their time at every level. And so I have a lot of interest in it, and I'm a long way past that. I don't think I'll be running for office anytime soon.